Okay, there we are. Sorry about that. For whatever reason, all of my streaming settings got confused. I had to go through and reset all my devices, but it looks like now we are alive and going. Welcome back, everyone. Tonight we're going to deviate from my usual stuff to go and build something that I thought was going to be fun for a little bit. But before we get to that, a couple quick announcements. So for people who are following for the Material Design Library, the 3.0 release has been published and is live. And I haven't heard too much complaining, so hopefully the documentation that's out there is helpful for people. There is a pinned issue on the GitHub repo with a list of all of the breaking changes that I consciously made. So that is out there. It is worth knowing that the Material Design Library and the supporting colors NuGet package are both published. The MAApps integration package is not. It is still a preview NuGet package. So the MAApps integration requires MAApps 2.0, and so because that is still a preview, I didn't want to release the integration package for it. So if you are on MAApps and you want to upgrade to the 3.0 stuff, you're sort of left with one of two choices. Either one, wait, or two, take the latest preview release for MAApps as well as the integration package, and then you should be able to update the material design stuff to the 3.0 and be just fine. So all of that stuff is out there. As far as tonight, I've had a couple of people ask about putting like subtitles on the stream, and I did a little poking, and there's various services and different Twitch options and whatnot for adding subtitles and that kind of thing. But I'm a programmer, and naturally the best thing to do is write it myself. So decided to go through and give Azure Cognitive Services a bit of a shot. So let me switch over here. So Azure Cognitive Services is basically Microsoft's way of going through and making a lot of things that used to be really hard in AI very easy for everyone to get into and start using. So in this case, the actual feature of it, so Cognitive Services is sort of this umbrella term over a whole bunch of offerings from Microsoft. They've got language, speech, vision, web search, and underneath all of decision, and underneath all of these, several services to go with. Is this a scroll bar? No, this is just a So this guy here. So they can do translating, but in our case, what we're interested in is the speech APIs. So ultimately, what we're looking to do is do speech to text, because while I am streaming, it would be wonderful if I could take this audio that's going in through my mic, ship it up to Azure, get that converted to text, and then display it on the screen in close-ish to real time, at subtitle-ish speed. Even if it's delayed a little bit, that's perfectly acceptable. So that's the goal in doing it. Now, that's the interesting part of it. The sort of mundane part of all of this is actually getting it displayed onto the screen, which none of this is built so far, so we're going to go through and do that. If anyone's jumping into this video looking for how do I go through and add subtitles to my own Twitch stream, if you're not a software developer, this is not the stream for you. This is really going to be designed on building stuff out, playing with some APIs, having fun. This is not going to be a ready-built solution, drop it into my stream and away you go. If you're another developer who does live coding, great. Hopefully this is useful to you. Because it is rather nice. So this is where we're going. As far as actually taking this text stuff, the Streamlabs software that I use, they've got a nice feature built into it called live file. Basically, you write some text into a file, they watch the file, they slurp it up, and then they can drop it on the screen. That's ultimately the stream starting soon counter. That's all how that app is working. That is just built around this idea of, well, actually, picture's worth 1,000 words. It is a public repo, so if anybody's interested, you can see how I'm doing it. It's really not that advanced of a program. It really just takes in some information, some countdown stuff, some formatting stuff, and it just writes it out to a text file. And ultimately, this guy just loops every quarter second, writes out to that file, and then Streamlabs is watching that file, and it just slurps it up, and then you can display it on your screen. So that's ultimately the way I'm envisioning implementing this, is having the subtitle text just get written to a file, that gets set up as part of the stream, and then I can just drag the little text box around the screen wherever I want. It'll be a little interesting figuring out sizing of it. We might have to do some fancy character measuring stuff to try to get a handle on how to do that and how to figure it out. So that might make it interesting. We'll see how it goes. So with all of the cognitive services, there's actually a really great Azure repository. There's another one there. Underneath Azure Samples, Cognitive Services Speech SDK. And they've got a whole bunch of different ones in here, and they've actually gone through and implemented these in quite a few different languages. So this Azure SDK is not just a C# thing by any means. This is whatever language, whatever platform that you're working in. If this is useful to you, there is probably an SDK already available for it. So a lot of the big popular ones are in it available. But in our case, what we're looking for is C#, and underneath C#, we have lots of choices. They've done Xamarin, UWP, Virtual Assistant, there's some console stuff, and then there's this Windows one, and underneath Windows, there's speech-to-text WPF. And this is the one I think we're going to start with. I kind of poked through a bunch of these samples before, and they're all sort of different takes on basically the same API. And so it didn't look like there was a lot of different stuff of, here's X, Y, and Z. It's sort of a little bit of rehashing of the same stuff in a lot of them. Maybe doing something slightly different, but I think ultimately in here, that's how we're going to do it. And I think for this app, we could do it as a console app, but I'm a WPF guy. Let's do it in WPF, because that's how I roll. So I've already downloaded this sample here, and so I will fire it up and show it to you. So the one thing that's worth knowing about this right away is when I downloaded it and fired it up, it didn't work. And that was very disappointing to me because I really wanted it to work. There is a setting in here that unfortunately isn't stored with the project, so it's not something you're going to get if you just check it out. And it could have been because I just slipped straight into this folder. Don't know if there's maybe some other script or something. But this platform target here was set on any CPU, and this really needs to launch as a 64-bit executable. So it's really only a problem depending on how you're going to launch it and debug it, but you need to be launching as a 64-bit process. Okay, so the DLL, when I looked into the NuGet package, looked like it was 64-bit only. In fact, we can take a quick look at that. So this guy here, grab that, and let's see. NuGet Package Explorer, my old friend. Let's fire up and bring you over. So open package. Let's take a quick look. So if we open this NuGet package up, some build stuff, some lib stuff, and you'll note these guys here. So if we grab this, hey, why you no work? Let's just jump to the output directory real quick. So open containing folder. I guess it wasn't inside of the NuGet Package Explorer where we found it. It was buried inside of here. So let's see, dn spy. I can spell. At least some days. Okay, so let's see here. Come on. So if we pop this guy open, so the Microsoft Cognitive Services Speech C# DLL, if you pop this open, even though it is compiled any CPU 64-bit preferred, I think the 32-bit preference of the of Visual Studio was causing it to get confused and not be able to load the DLL. As soon as I flipped it over to 64-bit, everything was fine. So let's fire this guy up and take a look at what he does. So the first thing that you will need to go through and play with all of these is you're going to need an API key to be able to play with it. And this guy here, let's see, change keys. So I don't have my subscription key entered here yet. So what you can do, if you go through the this guy here, depending on how you're signed in to your Azure account, you can generate some temporary keys that are good for 30 days and like, I'm trying to remember the exact restrictions. It was sort of a dumbed down version of exactly what you get. So if you don't want to set up an account, you just want to play with it, that'll get you going there. But if we look here, see speech to text pricing, blah blah blah. The free tier itself, so if you actually have an Azure account stood up, speech to text, standard, 5 audio hours free per month. That's a lot of hours for free. So was tickled to death to see all of that, and so going through, I'm going to start this just off on the free tier and see how far I get. It may end up needing to be more, but ultimately, once it comes down to the actual cost of it, let's see, if you go up to, so the other thing that's worth noting is 1 concurrent request, 20 concurrent requests. So in my case, I'm not selling this to anybody. This is for me. 1 concurrent request at a time is perfect. If you were building this out for something a little bigger, you may consider going down here, and even then, it's only $1 an hour. That ain't bad. That ain't bad. A little more expensive if you want to start doing some more of the fancy stuff. Again, we're going bare bones simple for this. So underneath my Azure account, I have already gone through and created a cognitive service, speech to text. And so again, pricing tier free. It's sitting here. I really want to click this. I'll just cycle the key afterwards. So if you hit the quick start, it'll go through. It'll give you the key. You can actually see both keys underneath this guy here, which is where I'm going to go in a moment and cycle it. And it gives you everything that you really need. So run the Docker containers for the speech service. So if you want to go that approach, make API calls, enjoy coding. So it seems simple and straightforward, right? So what we are going to do is I am going to switch and go and cycle that key real quick. So yeah, regenerate key. Just, not that I don't trust people not to steal it, I just would prefer if that wasn't documented on the internet for all to see for all eternity. Okay, so we have our API key. Let's go make sure this guy's going to work for us. So let's come back over here. And I realize I'm not sharing my screen, and that is intentional for the moment. I just want to put my key in, hit the save button, and collapse that. Okay, so now back to Happy View. Okay, so we are back. I have grabbed a new key. I have put it inside of the change key here, and we've got this baseline model. So we're going to do input, use my microphone, please. Recognition type, we'll just use the baseline model. Nothing fancy. Region, English. Seems simple, right? So we hit go. This is a test. 1, 2, 3. And that's pretty good. I'll take it. So that's all it takes to actually get this thing set up and going. So now it's going to be a matter of breaking this apart into my own app so that we can have something that we can run, and then we'll take this text and do it. Yeah. I'll take it. Yeah, I like it. Makes me look so good. Thank you, Azure. We haven't written a line of code yet, and yet it's already being awesome. Okay, so we're going to stop that for now, minimize this. So, file new project, and away we go. So let's go see if we can build ourselves a little WPF app that can basically take those. Yeah, the metal slug. That is really cool. Yeah, it is. It is remarkably easy to get this thing up and going. So, if you missed it before, this is the demo that the demo code that I'm running. I just downloaded it, and the only thing that's important to note is I had to change my platform target to 64-bit to actually get the DLL to load appropriately, and then obviously generate a API key, and that's all it takes. So that is pretty good. While I have it, I'm going to try this real quick. So this is one thing that tickled me when I first saw this. WPF and XAML. Yeah, that's one that falls apart on a lot of speech recognition engines, and I'm guessing Microsoft has spent a little bit of time training it on all of its pet keywords. Wow, it even figures out when I don't end my sentences correctly. I'll have to figure out a way for it to make me sound better, because right now it's making me sound like how I do sound, and that's unfortunate. Okay, so file new project time. Let's not have that open. In fact, close that. So WPF app, let's call this stream subtitles. That sounds great. Oh, that's the filter. So this, yeah, we'll do this in .NET Core. Their samples are in Framework, but at least what I saw was the NuGet package supported Net Standard 2.0. So I think we're fine. I think we are fine. We'll know shortly. We'll go through and see how much of this code we need to rip apart and do it, because their demo app code, there's no MVVM. ReSharper has a heyday on all of this stuff. They kind of have some weird binding stuff going on, but they're binding back to themselves as the data context. There's weird naming things going on. This feels like somebody who was familiar with Windows Forms built it out, which isn't a bad thing, because I realize this is just a simple demo, but yuck. We're gonna clean this up and make this something that I can reuse while streaming. Okay, so you there. Okay, so first thing we need is a couple NuGet packages, because I need at least a little bit. So MVVM Lite, what is it? I think it's std lib, something like that. That one. That's what I want. Gimme. Yeah, it's just the libs. You can get the full MVVM Lite package that's not just a library, but that goes with the view model locator pattern, and I just don't like it. So, but I do like the rest of the base library. So we're going to start there. Let's see. New class. Main window view model. And let's see here. So view model base, public, clean that up. Boom, boom, boom. And in the interest of speed, we're just going to hard code it right into the middle, because the goal is to get it working first. So main window view model. Great. Okay, so what do we need for this? I need some way. I don't really want it to have. I'm trying to figure out where to put my API key. I'm almost thinking that I may just shove it into an environment variable for now. Hide it over here. That way we can load it back out and be fine. So, because ultimately, let's see, what are we going to need? We're going to need an I command start. All right, so we're going to need something to start. We're going to need something that stops. Those are pretty much the two obvious ones right out the gate. If we load the API key, well, let's just start building this out and see. We'll figure out what we need on there to begin with. So start command gets new relay command on start. This is definitely this is my preferred way of doing naming for my commands. If that, it's not necessarily an agreed upon standard, but it's the one that I like. So my commands usually always have the command suffix on them. I realize in general it's usually bad form to include the type in your name, but I find that not having command on there, oftentimes this name is ambiguous, and maybe that's just poor naming on my part, but that's the way I like to do it. And then my execute methods are usually on and then command name. Okay, so start stop, so on start. So let's go back over here and let's figure out what all we need. So when we come in here, the start button click. So they do some logging, they change the state on a bunch of stuff. They've got this region and recognition language. So I think we're probably going to need both of those. So let's start with public string region, public string language, maybe recognition language. Yeah, let's do recognition language. That's probably a better name. That's probably a better name. Okay, so we'll figure out what those values are in a minute. It does a check, are keys valid. This is basically just is the text box empty check. Yeah, I'm a little less. We're just going to assume they're valid for the moment. Let's see. Use base model. So it would write this out, but this is in the keys are not valid case, so that doesn't matter. So we are using microphone, so this if case doesn't matter. Use custom and custom, we aren't doing either of those, so that if doesn't matter. Use base model or use base model and custom models. This is us. So this is what we're doing. So they do a task completion source with a task.run stuff, and we fall into this method. And this is where stuff starts to get interesting. So we need this stuff. Oh, let's start with that. Let's see. So on start, I gotta get me one. Oh, so I probably need that other NuGet package too, don't I? What? The project requires additional packages in order to use user secrets. Why? What? Did I not just say? Oh, manage user secrets. Ha 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 ha. Maybe that's a better place to put my API key. Might be a better option. Okay, that's a later problem to solve. That is more than what we need right now. So what we do need is this guy. And this library was using version 1.8.0. We'll see if there's a newer version. But we know at least 1.8.0 worked. Looks like it's the same. Oh wow, okay. Date published, November 2nd. So this is a fairly recent release. Okay, I'll take one, please. Oh, and we should probably go and deal with the 64-bit thing real quick. Yeah, those are all fine. We know about those there. So let's see. We're just going to do hard code to 64-bit. Again, this is a software program for me. My systems are all 64-bit, so we can make some sweeping assumptions when the only intended audience is 1. Okay, so we need a subscription key too. So let's get rid of these. Let's get rid of all the this dots. We don't need all of this. We don't need all this stuff. Get rid of all that. Get rid of all that. Okay, so I also need a subscription key. Public string subscription key. I might double check. This seems like confusing language since Azure has subscriptions. I might double check what the terminology is out on the Azure portal. Okay, so what do we do next? So if we use microphone, which we do something like this. So we grab us one of these guys. Boo. Why? Let's see. They declared it outside because I have no idea why. Because they wanted to reuse the same variable in both cases, I guess. Don't know if that really buys you much, but okay. Let's see, and then run recognizer, and so they're passing in a couple things. So the task completion source, record type, I assume. For this app, there are two. Oh, so this is their own enum. Okay, so let's look at this guy. So what do you do? Because we can just make a sweeping assumption that this guy is going to be base. So dispatcher invoked, we're not going to be doing any of this stuff. But this is probably important. So they are doing a whole bunch of event handlers. So event handler, speech recognition, event args. Let's see, recognition handler. Oh, recognizing handler. Recognized, past tense. So this is probably Azure speaking, and then this is the thing done. Canceled, session start, stop, start detected. So we basically need a whole bunch of this stuff. So we need to do, so I think we're going to do intermediate results. Yeah, we'll bring it in. I think I'll just take all of this. Let's take all of this to start, and we'll get this in. So all of this goes here. All right, so import types, great. Okay, so I think what we're going to do for the purpose of this is checked, because I think there may come a time where we want to toggle this. But for now, we'll just put the bool in and do that. So, and if we rename this guy to recognizer, poof, all of those now magically start working. So we've got a bunch of event handlers to go and grab. And all of these can probably become methods rather than just straight delegates. I'm more inclined to make these methods. So, because though the thing is, some of these things are actually, I suspect the reason they're delegates is because they're capturing over these variables. So the record type and the source, and these ones are passing like a start and an end string. So we'll look. We still might need to use delegates regardless to pick some of these guys up, because these are switching around. So come back to those in a minute. Let's see. So start, wait, stop recognition, start continuous recognition async, configures. So source. What is source here? Task completion source. So why? Okay, so take me back. Take me back. Why did we do this with the funky task completion source? All right, we declared it and stashed it in a field for reasons. Is this just so that we're using it as cancellation to know when to stop? Not sure I like that. I think we're going to abandon that for the moment. Hang on. Let's grab these three guys here. I don't think we actually want, like, maybe I'm missing something, but I don't think I actually want this. So it's worth noting, in general, async void should be avoided like the plague. It will bite you over and over and over. The reason it exists, and the one time where it is acceptable, is when you need to await calls on top-level method handlers. So I make the argument that these are effectively things like button-click event handlers, the commands. Therefore, these are top-level events. They're effectively the callback of the framework back into your code. So I would argue top-level, therefore async void is okay. It is worth noting, though, that sometimes this means that you need to deal with if somebody like double clicks on your buttons and properly checking, am I already started, et cetera, et cetera. I need to either disable my command or have some sort of fancy interlock stuff or something. Just, it is where the async void ones do open you up for that potential. So it's worth keeping in mind. So recognizer, start continuous recognition, stop continuous. So what else is, let's just look at this guy real quick. So what else is on recognizer? Let's see, start keyword recognition with keyword spotting. Oh, interesting. So this is sort of like when you say, and I got to be careful what words I use here because I've got multiple home automation assistants in the room. When you use like the Amazon Echo's keyword or the Android Assistant's keyword to be able to pick it up. Clever. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Let's see. Output format. Don't really care. Looks like an arbitrary property bag. Okay. Recognize once. Returns after a single utterance is recognized. The end of a single utterance is determined by listening for silence at the end or until a maximum of 15 seconds of audio is processed. Interesting. That may prove to be somewhat problematic. I suspect what's going to happen is we're going to have this thing running, and it's probably going to need to take the text and put it in some sort of display queue for the subtitles, because I imagine we're going to need to have some amount of text up for some period of time, then the next line, then the next line, because we're only going to be able to get so much in there, and I don't think I want to just blob dump everything. We'll see. We'll see. Cool. So it really is just sort of the start, stop, or recognize once. And then event handlers for all the stuff you sort of expect to go with each of those. Okay, cool. So it starts this, and this is going to be the interesting part, is we're going to need something to determine when to call stop. Which means so I'm gonna get rid of this for now, but I suspect what needs to happen is to do move into stop. I suspect that's what they were using the task completion source for, is when I stop, this thing's basically going to block until I click my other button, which will complete this task, thus letting this thing go into this. I think what we're going to do is we're going to just refactor that. I think there's cleaner options. Okay, next up. So let's see. This guy here, and then unsubscribe from all the events. Sure. So, okay, so a couple things here. One, we're getting rid of this if check, because you can always minus equals even if you aren't registered, and that'll be fine. Okay, so there's all of that. And actually, this stuff is going to need to go with... This is going to need to go into here, right? Because once you stop, you want to unregister. Okay, so let's get these event handlers figured out real quick. So recognizing event handler. So this is pretty simple. So based on the base, it grabs some text and writes it out. Okay, we're gonna do something a little different here. So let's see here. I think we're gonna get rid of all of this actually. And speech recognition event args. I assume this is probably object sender, and which means I can just do this, right? Recognizing event handler speech object. Oh, comma is important. Okay, and then that means we can also go down here, paste that guy there. Okay, and because I don't think, because we're not having the multiple record type stuff, so none of this matters. Boom. So there's that one. Recognized. Jump back. Recognized event handler. So this one's doing a little bit more work. Ookie. Yeah, because it looks like the primary reason for these delegates was being able to capture on some of these variables. Let's see. We are just comment all this out. Oh, interesting. So you can pull off the JSON result. Oh, I see. Okay, so on that properties bag, there's a property ID object. Let's look at that real quick. What's on that? Property ID. Oh, it's just a straight enum. Oh, look at that. Sweet. A nice long list of everything that's available, or might be available, I guess. Everything might not have the same thing. So this is doing building up a text box, set current text, blah, 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 blah. We're going to need to do something with the actual text, but it won't be that. So actually, let's just do throwaway variables for now. We don't need them. So e.result.text is the good stuff. So for now, let's do this. So let's see. Do I have... Oh, I didn't install my stuff yet. Okay. Private string text. Let's see. Get lambda into the backing field. And then because we derive from view model base, our setter's nice and easy. We just call the set method. Ref text, pass value. We've got a data bound field. Huzzah! Great. Because ultimately we're going to want to start writing stuff out and building up a queue. This guy's not going to be long-lived, but he'll be good enough for a quick proof of concept. So text plus equals environment new line plus e.result.text. Great. What else is on this result? So what else do we get? We get text, duration, properties, result reason. What's that? Is that an enum? Ah, cool. Sweet. That's kind of cool. Some of these I don't think we'll see, but recognized keyword, recognized speech, recognized intent, no match or canceled. Yeah, we might want to check on. We'll put a to-do in here. Let's see here. To-do, handle that. Because there's probably something worthwhile looking at in there. Probably. Okay, so there's that. And let's see here. So they were just doing write line, blah, 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 blah. Don't think we need any of this for now. So that goes there. This goes here. Put that in that spot. And let's see, recognizing handler. That goes in that spot. And this goes away. Okay. Let's see here. Do we need, in the interest of testing, let's see if this just straight up works, right? Because, yeah, we probably need to handle all this stuff, but this should be enough to prove that it's working, right? So let's do debug write line e.result.text. Right, because that's what that was using. Let's see here. Let's do something like, I always like to make it a little obvious when I'm looking at my output window what's going on. Okay, so something akin to that. Force Mountain Dew down, and I haven't even run the app yet. Gotta fix that. Okay, so that'll get that launched. Okay, so now we got to populate some of these things, right? So let's do, this guy is just going to be, let's see, environment, get environment variable, stream subtitles, stream subtitles, key. Sure, great. We'll come up with a better name for it later. Let's see. So region. What were they using for these? I think region was coming out here. So where were you getting set? So combo box, region combo box, selected item tag toString. So, oh, region combo box, selected item. Oh, yuck. Yuck. Well, West US is where mine is deployed, and more importantly, where this thing was defaulting to. So, yuck. We're just going to, again, in the interest of getting something working, hard code it is. Let's see, what was language defaulting to? I didn't change those, so language combo box. I'm going to go with English US. Yeah, this sort of tag approach on the combo box items for holding the selected value is very WinFormsy. Yeah. So I do English. Okay, so that handles those defaults. That handles that. We got a start command. We've got a stop command that does nothing. When text is recognized, intermediate stuff goes here. Otherwise, this populates out here. Okay, so we need at least two things. Something to display this and something to bind the command to. That sounds a lot to me like a grid. Well, that's fine. Yeah, grid will work. Grid row definitions. Let's do row definition and have it fill the space. Another row definition with a height of auto. And in the interest of not losing my stuff, we'll do a scroll viewer around a text block whose text will be bound to the text on our view model. And then we'll do a button content start, grid row 1, maybe put it on the bottom right, I guess. Horizontal alignment right. And, oh, I guess we need to set the command, don't we? Command, binding, start command. Okay. Not pretty, but let's see if it works. Oh, we got to do one more thing. I need my API key added. So let's start with this. I need this. Let's see here. So if I go properties, debug. So it's worth noting this is only going to work when I'm debugging from inside of Visual Studio. And then we're going to put a value here. And that value we are going to keep secret for the moment. Okay, because I don't want to have to cycle my key again. So let's come over here, go back up to where we showed at the beginning, underneath either the keys or the quick start option. And we're going to just copy that guy, paste it into my environment variable, save, and close that, and we can go back to normal view. Okay. So we got that. We can load in our subscription key. Cool. I think that works. I think what I'm actually going to do, because I'm realizing that if I do this straight up like this, every time I open my locals window, it's going to expose it. So So what we're going to do is we're just going to inline it. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so breakpoint there. Let's see what happens. If it works the very first time, I'm going to be shocked. But I think it's pretty close. At least for, let's make sure we can do it. Okay. We got to finish this before the next Mountain Dew runs out. Because I was up early this morning and I will probably start crashing very quickly once I run out of sugar. Okay, so we got that. Click our start button. Breakpoints hit. Great. So step, step, step. Creates a recognizer. Great. Register for the event. Great. Register for the event. Let's just grab it here and here. This is a test. I sort of anticipated this guy hitting right out the gate. I don't see an exception. Just didn't get anything. How did this guy know? How did this guy know to use my microphone? I'm realizing I brought nothing over that would indicate that it should use my mic. So let's check this again. So not mic, don't do that. So create base. If you use microphone. Oh, so the default of the speech recognizer must be to use the mic. Okay. Hello. Hello. Oh. That's probably problematic. I'm disposing of the speech recognizer. That's probably gonna do it. Well, that ain't good. Okay. That's probably what's happening. This guy's getting his dispose method called, and so these things probably never have a chance to do anything. Okay. Well, that was dumb. So, again, in the interest of just getting something working, we're just gonna no, capital please. We're just gonna stash that guy off, and we're gonna be bad and not clean up right now. Right? So that goes like that. That goes like that. Let's see. So var. It's worth mentioning this sort of compound assignment here. The getter on this property is not being invoked. When you have compound assignment like this, it's the equivalent of this assignment being set here and here. Okay, it's not this goes into here and then the getter gets called and that goes into here. It looks weird, but that's how it's working. Okay, so now we've got that. We're holding on to it. It's not going to die. Let's try again. See? That makes me feel better. If it had worked the first time, that would have been way too easy. That's probably why they had their task cancellation source to block. Okay, so start. I think we can kill this breakpoint. I trust we're getting through here. Oh, there we go. Hey. This is a test. Yes! Does it do maniacal laughter? Oh, it does! Oh, yes! Oh, this is amazing. Okay, we are in business. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. That was really, really easy to get going. Wow. So the short version is all you need to spin up your own speech to text engine is you get yourself one of these speech configs, pass in the stuff from the subscription. You set your language, create a recognizer from that config, register up on this event, and call start. Done. That is way too easy. Way too easy. Okay, so I'm noticing something though. I was kind of hoping, do you guys not support, do you not have cancellation token overrides? Really? No. So how does one cancel this? Is there a cancel method? I see a canceled event that you can add yourself for. Okay, so this is the decompiled source from .peak. So I'm very confused now. So what triggers the canceled? Fire event canceled. This is only buried a little bit in here. Well, the nice part is it's a nice this canceled callback delegate registers it up, and that's the only reference. Okay, so what do you get used for? You get nulled out on dispose. Great. Oh, is this like canceled from the server side of things? You get registered up in there. And then we're back all the way around. Oh, interesting. Okay. So there's no great way to cancel those. Really. So disposing of this guy is really the only way I have to tell him to stop. I mean, aside from obviously, calling stop. Okay. So that's fine. Okay, well, what do we do now? Start, stop, or do we start actually trying to implement this? We've got this much working. Let's go all the way and see about actually displaying the subtitles out into the stream. So I think what I want to do, I don't know this for a fact. I kind of want to just put things into a queue and then pop them out of the queue. Is that fair? I think that let's start with that approach, right? So, and I kind of want to display that queue in the GUI. So that sounds like I need an observable collection, right? So public observable collection, and we'll just do strings for now. Subtitle lines, right? Because ultimately what I want to do is basically just start embedding these things one at a time into this guy. Boom. Okay, so we're going to do that. And I think for now, what we'll do is, I think I'm just going to lock on it. I think it's pretty unlikely that I get two of these events raised simultaneously, but let's see. So we'll add an item to the end, which will be e.result.text, right? Turn you off. You are no longer useful to me, so you go away. So that goes there. We'll lock and we'll add. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Because I think what we're going to do is we're going to have this event come in, put items into the observable collection, and I think we'll just spin another background process to go through and display them, because I want some amount of timing, right? Like, I don't want second line to come in and just blast the first line out, especially if this amount of text, if this can be like 15 seconds in length, that's probably more than I want for one individual line of subtitles. So this is probably to do split up text based on length, right? Because ultimately, what I'd like to do is when I write the text into the file, I want it to just be the one line that I want displayed, and we'll have it show up here. Right? We'll even put it right up here on the screen. We'll make it be awesome. But for now, we're not going to worry about breaking it up. We're just going to dump the whole thing out. And I'll use short sentences so they fit. Yeah, we're just going fast. So let's see, task.factory, start new, write subtitles. All right, so we'll do that. Let's see, task creation options, long running. Because this guy is basically not going to die. So let's put him down here. Private void, write subtitles, boom, boom, boom. And so let's go, I'm curious what, because I had to look this up before. What did I use for writing out the file? Console out, fancy console, was it just file, write file? What did write file do? File, write all text, that's right. Because it just checked to make sure that the old stuff was different than the new stuff, and away we go. Okay, so we're going to do something like while true. Again, not a great solution right now, but we're going for speed and to get this working. So while true, and let's see, this is going to be another async thingamabobber. Actually, I think you can be async task, right? Yeah, because task factory start new is hip to that. Yeah, more like that. So the first thing we'll do is we'll lock the observable collection, because add appends to the end, right? And so if, let's see, let's do this. String line gets subtitle lines first or default. Actually, because I also want to remove it. Let's just do this. If subtitle lines, let's see, count greater than 0, line gets subtitle lines, give me the first one, and subtitle lines, remove at 0. Okay. Let's just make you null for the moment. Oh, that's what we aren't doing. That's what we aren't doing. Let's make this better. Nullable enabled. There we go. Right? So now it's unhappy. Right? You should be unhappy. Nullable. Was that? Did I get it wrong? Enable. There we go. Because now this is no longer a nullable type by default. If I wanted it to be nullable, I need to do that. And we'll have the compiler yell at us a little bit. So that'll make it. a little more interesting. So I'm sure it'll start squawking at plenty of things. Okay, so if line is string, yeah, you're probably unhappy. To object pattern, sure, great. This is the new fancy pattern match way of is not null. So this matches on any non-null value. Okay, so if we have a line, let's see, file, write all text async. We can use the async APIs because we have them. Let's see, private const string file path. Output.text sounds great. So we will write it to file path, and we will write out the line. And I think what we want to do is await, well, regardless of whether we do anything or not, we want to pause for a little bit. So task.delay of time span. We might have to play with this timing a little bit, right? Because we want some amount of time before we go and try to pull something off. Okay, so there's that. So let's fix up our GUI real quick. So we no longer have this. What we have instead is an items control with an items source, binding, subtitle lines, right? And I don't think I have to do anything else, because by default the item template is going to just call toString, and the toString of a string is the string. I'm okay with that. Okay, so I think that handles that. That handles that. Now we have to do some weird Streamlabs stuff. So, how do I do this? Let's go here, let's go here, because I'd like to show this. Camera. So let's just do this, do this. I apologize, this is going to be some weird inception, because we're going to show the streaming software that we're streaming from. Okay, and I think I really should have figured out where the button was to turn off this view. I know there is a button for hiding this, and I don't remember what it is. Okay, but the important part is down here in this sources. So what we can do is we can add a new source, and we can go and grab text from it, right? So let's see, that is the right one, right? I believe it's text. And so I've got some built-in ones that I use for a bunch of stuff, you know, be right back, etc., etc. This countdown one is very similar, but I think we want to add a new source instead, and we're going to go with subtitles. All right, so add a source. Okay, so, and this is where we might end up doing some fancy stuff with fonts and measuring to figure out exactly how much space we have. I don't know if that's going to be the right size. Read from file. This is what we want. So we come over here and we navigate into, so 1 second, we'll bring this guy back over here. See if I can cover up as much of this video-y stuff as I can so it doesn't look quite as bad. Okay, so we navigate in here, bin, debug, this, hasn't been run yet. New output.txt. Perfect, that file, that's what I want. Perfect, so now it will watch that. White text. Let's go put some text in that real quick. 1 second. because I think we do want to put, just so that we can see it on the screen and verify that, you know, Notepad, everybody's favorite document. Some testing subtitle. Okay, get that. Okay, so it finds it. Text transform, we're not doing anything weird. We're going to do that. Background color black, white font, background opacity. We probably want to tweak some of this stuff. Alignment left, center. I think we go center. Vertical alignment top. That sounds great. I don't know what chat log mode. Oh, that's interesting. Oh. This might save me from having to go through and do the measuring of lines myself. That could be cool. Let's turn that on and just say 2 lines. Okay. Done. And now I've got, this is going to get weird. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm dragging this around. I'm going to move this guy off this screen so we stop getting the weird inception. And you can just watch the results of what happens. So we'll do something like that. I wonder how I make this bigger when I don't know the length of the text. Right? And I'm also interested in the fact that it doesn't appear to have the background color that we set. Let's see, I think I do. If you do, so there's that. So yeah, shift drag will do that. So shift drag lets you stretch it, which I don't think is what we want. I thought there was a fancier thing here, but okay, so let's just double check some of these properties real quick. Why? There we go. It had an opacity of 0 instead of 100, so we'll let it shine through a little bit, but show something. Vertical alignment. Oh yeah, we definitely don't want an outline. So what does that give me if I use the custom extents? Oh, that is definitely not what I want. Definitely not what I want. Okay, so here, and actually this I can drag over here. Now it's only me that has to deal with the weird inception. So this lets you... Oh, interesting. So I can change the... Well, that's better. That's what I want to do. Okay, so let's do that. So height 80, maybe. Let's go. I think we can get away with a little smaller. 70. Kind of want to open up that file real quick and just add a second line. Third line, right? Because I kind of want to see what that does. Sweet. So I'm wondering if that's just going to push it up and off, which would be ideal. Okay, so width, let's go 800, maybe a little big, 700. That's not bad. Something like that. Good enough to start. Good enough to start. Okay, so drag you down here. I don't want you necessarily sitting on top of everything. You're pretty optional. You should be above the camera. Yeah, something like that. And lock you in place for the moment. Okay, so we got that. Let's fire this app up and see how he does. This is a test. Uh-oh. Let's see. Oh, source collection does not support changes from a thread different from the dispatcher thread. Got it. So to add to an observable collection from a background thread, you have to enable it. So let's see, I believe it is binding operations, enable collection synchronization, subtitle lines, and we need to give it an object to lock on. I believe this means I can remove my lock from here, because this guy is only doing an add. Now, the key part is this guy still needs to lock because he's doing multiple statements here. But I believe if I feed that guy, if I feed the same instance in that I'm using a lock on here, the lock keyword in C# is just a lot of syntactic sugar around the mutex class, or I'm sorry, the monitor. Yeah, it's monitor, right? Monitor, try enter, right? Yeah. So it's fancy syntax around this monitor class, which I believe it's probably either using lock or something similar therein. I haven't spent a lot of time diving into that, but I think this works. Testing, testing. Yes! It works! It works! Yes, 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 yes! This is going to make me very, very excited. Yeah, that is really quite elegant. It is interesting. There's a bit of that delay. I didn't realize how slow it was reading out of the file, because the amount of time between when it disappears from the window and when it actually shows up on the stream, there is a bit of a delay there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. And it is interesting. It looks like we're going to have to do something about the text length. Yeah. I'm thinking what we do is we bring it down to a single line rather than having it be two, and then we do some simple math based on font and whatnot, because we can do that. That was part of why I like the idea of doing it in WPF over just a console app, because then I've got access to some of the rendering stuff, which means we can measure the length of the font. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Okay, so we might want to do something else too. Cool, but that actually works. We now have stream subtitles. That was remarkably easy. Yeah, I am. Okay, sorry. Just trying to think of how. I'm just staring at this, trying to figure out how I want to actually do this. So let's start with this. Let's actually fix that. So, Arial font, sure. I'm trying to decide if that's too big or too small on the font size. We're going to leave it at 36 for now. I might change it. Might change it later. So height. So rather than 70, let's break this down to 35. I'm going to go just a hair bigger, 38, just so it gets a nice even pad around it. Just trying to see if like this lower G or anything is going to get cropped off. Even 40 it is. Okay, so let's go through and unlock its positioning so I can drag it a little bit. We're going to bring it down here. I'm hoping having it all the way on the bottom like that doesn't bother anybody. Let's try this. So 720, little small, 750. Getting there. I'm wondering if pushing it all the way to the edge, if that's going to be a problem. Maybe I should bring it in just a little bit. Let's bring it in just a little bit. There's probably going to be some space on the end. Just over. Yeah, because the text alignment's still going to be center, so it's very unlikely to go all the way to the edge. The width of all the characters would just have to magically line up correctly. Yeah, let's do that. I think what we'll do is we'll do some splitting on the text based on font size. So this is sort of interesting because this is going to be really dependent. But I guess we do know number of pixels, right? So because we've got the these, I'm going to assume, based on the fact that I see on my other screen the word PX after the number, that this is in device pixels, which is different than WPF, which is device independent pixels. The moment you have your DPI change, that'll bite you if you make the assumption that those are equal. Okay, so I think we're going to go with that for now. And this thing is currently using Arial, so it'll work. It will work. So we're going to assume that we've got 740 pixels worth of space at a font size of 36. And we're going to make sure that our measuring roughly lines up to what we see here. Yeah, so, and it's worth noting that it is doing word break trimming, which I think is desirable. If I don't wrap, wrong type of wrap. But I'm wondering if I turn off text wrapping, what that actually ends up doing. Turn that down to chat lines of 1, just to see what happens on a really long bit of text, to see if the lines do anything fancy for me. There's the first line. No, nothing good. So I think that's desirable right there. And I don't think this chat log line limit is helping me at all. Okay, well, I think that gets me pretty close. We're going to start with that. Okay, so let's do maybe line breaking stuff. If anybody has an opinion of what they would rather see worked on next, let me know. I'm just going on what I think would be the most fun to work on next, and then we can go from there. Oh, I love it. 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 Lock that guy in place. Yeah, so pretty. So pretty. Not 100%, but it is pretty close. One of the other things that I would love to do, so, and actually I will show this real quick. So let's see, subtitles.ketokibu.com. This guy here. So if you're ever interested in like pouring through my videos to figure out where I talked about something, I've got some fancy logic apps that are set up so that when the video gets exported to YouTube, the logic apps fire and they go through and they download the subtitle file for the video, and they do some fancy stuff. They post the date here, and this is just the video ID. But then you can click in to one of these things, and you get a markdown file that's hyperlinked into these particular points in the video. So one of my thoughts is, if I get this text-to-speech stuff working, to write one of these log files rather than relying on Google's speech engine, because I think the Cognitive Services one will probably do a little bit better. At minimum, it would be interesting to do a nice side-by-side comparison, just to see how they do. But just based on testing this tonight, I'm thinking the Cognitive Services is killing it. So, points awarded, Microsoft team. Your stuff is awesome. What's the word? Of course, right after I say that, I see it go crazy and mess up. It's my really thick Pacific Northwest accent. Okay, we'll shut that down, because at some point we do need to go through and deal with all of this like leaky stuff that we've built and made a mess of, because it is a mess. Okay, so let's do some math. So I'm thinking that we do it here, right? So let's see. So private, I'm thinking we do an I enumerable of string, get lines, right? String text. All right, so we implement this, and then all we do is for each var line in get lines e.result.text, and we'll just append these guys in. Boom, boom. Something like that, right? Simple enumerable. Okay, so the font family, is it how do I Bing, save me. WPF measure font size. I don't remember how to do this. This is not exactly a common thing. So formatted text. Let's see, because culture matters, flow direction matters, typeface. I thought there was a simple thing. Is it on like typeface that does it? Let's see. Typeface, character to glyph map. Oy vey. I thought it was simpler than this. But this is actually pretty close, and it even has the right font for me. So let's start there. We probably will want to cache this rather than, reinstantiate a new one every single time we call into this, because this is only going to get hit every single time we do this. So let's see, what can we do to make these subtitles work nicer? So let's see, typeface. I thought we could just get the size of the font. Wait, X height. Okay, so what it? I'm starting to think that formattable one looks really good right about now. Let's see here, because this is pretty close. So let's come into here. Boom. Let's see here. So this is taking in a typeface, so we're just going to swap this out for a typeface. And then let's see here. Font size, I think we're just going to hard code it. Well, let's at least pull it out. So let's see, private int font size gets 36. Let's see. private static read only, typeface. Don't need that. Don't need that, and we'll just instantiate this guy on the fly like this. Don't need a lot of them. Too many equal signs. Too many equal signs. Okay, try that, try that, try that. You go away. Let's see. Typeface, what is your problem? So let's see. Constructor is obsolete. Use the pixels per dip override. So what is this telling me to do? Let's see. Text format. So we've got this. Text culture. Check. Flow direction. Check. Typeface. Check. EM size. Check. That wants a brush. I really don't have to give it a brush. Is this a shorter one? EM size brush is okay, so I guess we can just do black. Pixels per dip, so it's just okay. I think we just do 96, right? What's the documentation? Initialize new blah 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 blah. The pixels per density independent pixel value, which is the equivalent of the scale factor. For example, if the DPI of a screen is 120. Oh. So I think what I can do is I can just do 1, right? Yeah, I think we can just do 1. Because 1, that is how my current monitor is set up. So good enough. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to take this guy. We need to figure out how many characters. So if this gives us our width, right? Let's see. So something like double max width. And let's see. What did we set this to? We set this to 740. So right now we're just going to hard code you to 740 and see where that gets us. Because I think that's probably close. Probably. Okay, so we need to take as much text as we can and stay within 740. Trying to decide how to do this with the fewest number of iterations. I think what we do, we could measure the size of like the widest glyph in the font and give us, and that would roughly translate to number of characters. But so var string builder gets new, because this is going to be a lot of concatenations. So we're definitely, let's just brute force it. Interest to speed, go fast. So do we cut it down? I'm wondering if we start with the whole thing and walk backwards and trim it until it fits. Does the string builder allow for... I've never done it the opposite direction. Normally I'm always... let's see, remove... Well, let's do this. So first what we need to do is var words gets, let's see, string let's see. No. Text split, right? On, we'll just split on spaces. Because ultimately we don't want to just find the maximum number of characters, we want to find the number of words that we can put in here. That's probably a more optimal way to do this, but we're just going to iterate through them. For each var word in words, let's see, SB append, put the space back in, and then SB append word, right? And we'll just do this. Static double get width string we're just going to put you into that. Boom. So you become string. So then we can do double width, get width of SB to string. Does that quite work? Because the problem is this is going to get us, we almost want to peek the next one. Because if this, because if I do something like if width, greater than max width, I need to back up. Let's just do this. Convert to for loop. Great, that'll work. Because now we can actually do that, right? Because I can back up my index now. So if width is greater than this, we got one word too many. So we'll do index minus minus to reprocess the same word. And we will, well, the first thing we will do is SB remove. Let's see, start index is going to be the string builder dot length. Let's see, minus word dot length plus 1, right? And I want to remove word dot length plus 1 characters. Is that right? So if I've got, say, Kevin in there, that has a length of 5. The word has a length of, so I put in space Kevin. That's actually a good point. I don't want a space at the beginning. For now, always put in the space. To do. Don't put a space at the beginning. Right? We'll take it out here in just a second. So, and then we will yield return SB toString trim. Poof. So now it won't show up, but the measuring's adding it, so whatever. So this now breaks it. And let's see, so if SB.length is greater than 0, another thing we need to do here is clear it. And then we will build return SB toString trim. Boom. We got a little word splitter going now. Great. What's your suggestion here? Make it static? Awesome. Great. Wonderful. It does bother me that, oh, we are not using font size. That's why that guy shows as unused. Okay, so there's that. He does some stuff. He does some work. And great. Quick and dirty, but let's give it a shot. Okay, so we're going, I assume, I think, testing. There we go. So there was some text. Okay, it is processing. And up it goes. It was interesting. It seemed like it dropped the first one, because I saw it flash on my main window, but not coming through here. I sometimes was starting to wonder if maybe we don't want to clear that observable collection. Boom. So we do have a length problem. So let's see. It was interesting. It seemed to drop. So word 5 plus 1. So what is? So length is 52 minus 5. So it starts at length 48 and tries to take 6. What is sb.length? Must be non-length. Index was outside the range. Must be non-negative, check, and less than the size of the collection. So it's the second one that it's complaining about. Word length plus 1 is 6. .48 plus 6 is 54, which exceeds this. How did oh wait, what? So you're 52. This is supposed to be a minus, isn't it? Right, because we need to back up the length of the word and then one more to account for the space. Let's try that again. Kind of want to catch it inside of this if statement. Because there is certainly some improvements that could happen with the new span. Okay, so there we go. Let's just check this real quick. So length is 49, word length is 4. So we're picking up the word that, okay? So if we check this, string builder length minus word length minus 1 is 44. He's 49. Length is 4 plus 1 is 5. So this is trying to go from 44. Wait, that's the index, though, is 44. If the length is 49, that's actually one too many, isn't it? No? No, because this is a count, not an end length. Sweet. Let it go. Oh wow, it kept building up. And look at that, it actually is processing. I almost wonder if 1 second between each line is too fast. Or if maybe it should be, yeah, it feels a little fast. Let's slow it down a little. Again, I think there's probably going to be some room for improvement on all of this stuff, and I'm probably going to want to tweak and play with this a little bit more. I think what we should do, though, since it's already 20 to 11 where I'm at, and I unfortunately have to sleep at some point. I think we should go through and push this up to a repo somewhere so that it's public, and if anybody else wants to see it, play with it, have fun, make sure that that's available. Yeah. I'm almost wondering if maybe I go back. It feels like there might be a UX problem where maybe I want it to actually like push up a line so that each line gets displayed for twice the time. So like for the first 2 seconds it's on the bottom line, then the next one pushes it up, and then it's on the top line for 2 seconds. Because even at 2 seconds it feels a little fast. Maybe I'm just a slow reader. Yeah, because if it was real subtitles where, you know, they were pre-canned ahead of time, that'd be a little bit better. Let's bump it up at least another half second, just to see how that does. Can't tell. Well, relaunch and restart. We'll try it one more time. So start. Give me some subtitles. Something long, something good. And hopefully it, yeah, see there it starts to break stuff apart. Yeah, because there is, I guess, a bit of a fine line. The longer it has them displayed before it shows the next line, the further behind the subtitles are from the actual audio. And I guess the more that I talk, the more that it's going to back up and effectively cue those. I'm not sure what the right answer is. I think for now I'm probably going to leave it at about 2.5 seconds. Be curious what people think. It feels like something where there's definitely improvements that could be made. And I think just a blind 2.5 seconds is probably wrong. There's probably something to be said for adjusting that time slightly based upon the amount of text that there is. Because a short line doesn't take as much time to read as a long line, so maybe there's some adjustment that could be made there. Something about like that. So I think the last thing I'm going to do before we push this, so I think there's one more thing to put in here, because it would be really cool to have this guy, because I'm noticing there's a bit of a disjoint between the UI and what it's displaying. So I think what we're going to do is go back to what we had before, where we've got this field, right? Displayed line, all right? Because I want something in my GUI so that I don't have to be 100% reliant on staring at my other stream, right? So public string displayed line. Okay, so displayed line set. Let's see, displayed line value. And there is a lot of cleanup that needs to happen in here. Okay, so displayed line, we're going to come down here, basically do the same thing. So displayed line gets line. And I am thinking that I think what we should do is this, because I think we don't want to ever allow the null, and we want to clear stuff out. We don't want it just sitting in the file every time, right? Because that's a little obnoxious. Okay, so that cleans that up. That gets that. Now we put it in the UI somewhere, and I think let's just split this grid up. So grid, column definitions, column definition, we'll just do 2 evenly spaced ones, which pushes you to grid column 1, because I still like you in the bottom right. Starting to get a very long line of XAML there. Okay, so break that up. Let's see, I think I'm going to push this guy over to column 1, and I think what I'm going to do is text block, text, binding, let's see, displayed line, text wrapping, wrap, and then maybe like font size 36, font family, that is what it was, right? Just double check that. Oh, spelling for the win. Let's see, so there's that, and let's just do, vertical alignment center, horizontal alignment center. Because I'm not specifying any grid or row things, these are both going to default to 0, so it'll be in the top left quadrant. Oh, ReSharper complains about your non-first items not having explicit grid and row sets, despite the fact that this thing was going to default to 0 anyway. So mixed feelings. Mixed feelings about it. And I'll have to add a note to clean out the contents of the text file if, like on app shutdown or something, because having them just hang out there is a little annoying. Though in theory, we have a stop button at some point. So I think that probably gets it pretty close. I'm fairly happy with the results. And that's, yeah, so that's, yeah, so you can see the delay. I'm assuming when it's recording this, the stream output is probably close to what I'm seeing on my preview. In fact, I suspect it's almost identical. But at least now you can see the queue on the right getting populated and put in. And at least as far as I can tell, are measuring, well, but, okay, so let's see. At least now you can see, blah, blah, blah. Our measuring might even be a little too restrictive. Because it seems like there's more space available for the subtitles to display, and we're trimming early. Might have to do some tests, do some maths, pre-can some text in there so that I can force it right up to the limit and make sure that it is actually going where I expect. But there it is. You can use Azure to add subtitles to your stream, and it is easy. Okay, let's check this in somewhere. GitHub sounds awesome. Hey, look, it knows how to do Azure. Let's see. Sorry, was sitting quiet there for a minute just to make sure that it cleared out everything. Okay, so checky in. Let's see here. Add to source control. Git. Oh, do I even have? I don't think I've connected this to my GitHub yet. New computer, and probably haven't hooked it up yet. So, sorry, 1 second. We're just going to do this not on the main screen. I'm going to have to two-factor auth real quick, and let's see here. Okay, where's Authenticator? There you are. Verify me. Prove that I am who I say I am. Okay, so let's see. GitHub, stream subtitles. a simple test app for using Azure Speech to Text to create subtitles for Streamlabs OBS. Sure. Publish. Make it be so. So let's just verify that that's now out there. Don't need you anymore. Back to here. So we'll come back up, and in theory, if I go here on my repositories, I would assume that it shows up right at the top. Hey, look at that. Let's see. Didn't auto add me a readme, so let's just add that for me. Yeah, something like that. This is not intended to be a production app, just a simple tool for me on my stream. And let's see here. We'll make this a link. http://Twitch. Boom. Something like that. Yeah? Great. Great new file. We're in. And that works. So, if anyone is interested in seeing the code, playing with the code, and all of that jazz. Oh, I need to check something. Uh-oh. Well, suck. One second. Checked in my key. Rookie mistake. Rookie mistake. Regenerate. Regenerate. Okay, so anyone who goes and uses those keys, that's now broken. Yeah. At least the first time I accidentally showed the keys on stream, it was intentionally just to show off the Azure portal and where you find the keys. But that time, that was just pure mistake. So let's go fix that so we don't do it again. Okay. So let's just do, well, let me grab, let's see here. Open a repo. Open a repo. This guy. So we're going to pull in the latest change, and then I think we're going to go through and let's see. Is there an easy way? Delete file. Delete. And removing. Well, I guess it's not going to matter here, because what we're going to do, because I assume that I have very few people using this, squash, commit, force, push. Okay, so that at least clears it out of. Delete repo, publish again. Hey, Dot Morton. Yeah, that, oh. Extra points if you remember to actually include it. Let's see. So push, force push. I'm a little less concerned. I think the only risk right now is if somebody had already forked it, but then they get a version of this with a key that I've already cycled. So maybe I care, maybe I don't. So, but there's that. So that is now up, and now with less suckiness. So let's see here. So now, good, 404 page. That is the acceptable return from that. Well, cool. So there's that. For those people who are interested, I will probably have this posted to YouTube. Might do it tonight, might do it tomorrow. But it should go out if you follow me on Twitter. Again, I've got my little army of logic apps that post all the Twitter things for me. So it goes through and it will post it out and do all of the subtitle stuff and all of that, or not subtitles. Well, yeah, it is subtitles. The subtitle tracks that you can then search the videos. So this guy. So there will be then some fancy markdown file with all of the stuff in it to be able to search this. So there will be a subtitle file in a repo with markdown for a video on creating subtitles and adding them. So that'll be exciting. So, but at least for me, it's about 11 p.m. and I unfortunately have to be up early tomorrow. So was fun. Was happy that it actually got something out. Links for the page that are out there can be found on my GitHub page if anybody wants to play with it and just see what's there. And if people have ideas on doing it, I'm probably going to go through and push the app to get it into a more finalized state where I trust using it on the stream, and probably try to leverage having some sort of subtitles on the bottom if people find that interesting. I know I've had some requests in the past to go through and do it, so it seems like a fun thing to do, and it's always fun to play with Azure stuff. So should be good. So with that, I'm going to be signing off for the night. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. Do it again next week. Talk to you guys later.